All right. Michigan, real quick here, man. Are people making too much of their first half? They went into the locker room down 17-14 against Rutgers. It's a Rutgers team that hasn't had a lot of success doing much of anything offensively. And they had the big special teams play. I
Yep.
don't want to breeze by that, but they also had three explosive passes in the first half of that football game, one for 37, one for 16, one for 48. And I had mentioned before, if I was going to test this Michigan team, I would do it on their corners.
Yep.
Were people making too much of the first half performance out of Michigan?
I don't think so. I think it's worth a evaluation, right? Because Michigan's been through the ringer now. They've had a couple of these. They had the similar situation with Indiana, who's another bad football team, as we said. But again, good teams figure it out, and good teams can make adjustments and make plays and overcome some things because that special teams play is massive. That's a massive momentum changer, no matter who you are, no matter where you're playing. And it's funny, we had a text chain with a bunch of the guys that are on this show and on the After Dark show, and someone says, hey, big play, punt block, and I said they're gonna need about 3 more of them bitches before the end of this one if they're gonna pull this off, because that's the kind of thing that you need to happen when you're talking about two programs where they are, and just from a Jimmy's and Joe's standpoint. And Michigan proved that in the second half, right? And I keep going back to it, like the game I got circled that's going to be the teller of all tales with both of these programs in the East is the Ohio State Michigan game. You're going to find out. And it's top to bottom program. It's going to be a program win. Whoever wins it, it's going to be coaching staff doing a fantastic job, players executing, and mentalities clashing, and which one comes out of it is going to dictate the best representation of the Big Ten in the college football playoff, because both of these guys are worthy when you just watch it, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally there with you. I think people made entirely too much of the first half. I think it was a Rutgers team, and we know how Greg Schiano is, and he was going to be aggressive. He was going to come
Great
out
ball
swinging. It's
coach.
what you got to do in a game like that. Like, you got to get your guys up early in that game to even have a shot, right? They're not coming back in a game like that.
Yeah.
So I chalk it up to that. I think Michigan's been one of the best teams in America in second half adjustments. But this is where, if I was a Michigan fan, I would have maybe a little trepidation. Is Ohio State? You can't do
No.
that
No.
nasty first half thing, because we have seen this Ohio State team be productive in first halves of games. They're averaging 24 points in the first half. In home games, they're averaging 27 damn near, and they're playing that game in Columbus. You look at Michigan in the first half of games, away games, they're only averaging 12 points, right? So this is something you can't do. And we've also seen that Ohio State is a team that will take it to the fourth quarter and try to blow it open too. That is the one point of caution, is that game has to be a fast start for both teams, but specifically Michigan on the road must be a fast start. I don't worry about that team, though, because they have been so steady and consistent, and their game plan is one of those where they stick to it and it always ends up working. But against Ohio State, that's one team that you can't get behind on. Flip side of that, for Ohio State, like early on that game, you get punched in the mouth, you can't, back into a corner. Like, this is going to be a dogfight. I have no expectation of anything otherwise, but I don't make too much of it. I think that Michigan has been a phenomenally consistent team. This is getting into the national perspective here with the CFP rankings.
Yeah.
Coming out of this past week, I would have had Michigan as my number 2 team in the country, just based off of that consistency that I've seen. Ohio State, I think, gives you so much more at the top end, but can they get to that top end is the question. And when they're kind of at their floor, they make for some ugly football games that, if you're somebody who follows the team closely, will give you heartburn.